The Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer dropped a few weeks ago, and they had the audacity to make the lead characters a black man and a woman. So the worst people you know on the internet were yapping about it, of course. I think that there's probably three main types of people criticizing it. People with legit criticisms who don't like seeing diversity used to pander to an audience, or when the story is mishandled and doesn't do justice to the subject matter. These are totally fair, but I haven't really seen many people do that yet, because all we have right now is a cinematic trailer, so we don't really know what the story's going to be or how they're going to handle it. Then you have the run-of-the-mill anti-SJW types who lack insightful commentary on media, and so when something is put out that they don't like, they just blame it on the woke. And I think that there's like genuinely hateful people in this group, and there's also genuinely non-hateful people, but mainly it's just cringe. Like, if you let the existence of a black character in a game ruin the game for you because you can't relate to them or it's not historically accurate, then you're a fucking snowflake. And the third category is just straight up Nazis, and that's where Synthetic Man comes in. If you've only recently become aware of Synthetic Man, it's probably from his review of the Fallout show, or maybe Tears of the Kingdom. Both have become somewhat infamous at this point. In his review of the Fallout show, he showed what I can only describe as, and I say this with all sincerity, a profoundly retarded level of comprehension when it came to his analysis. He did not understand plot beats, how they tie together, he didn't understand character development or motives, and he constantly complained about the lore while displaying an utter lack of knowledge of the lore of the games. And it was actually impressive. There's a newer channel called Noggin Movements, which I'll link in the description, that did a pretty good breakdown of his reviews. Check that out if you're interested. So the Assassin's Creed trailer dropped, and I have to say, after the new gameplay footage we got, I think that there's reason to be cautiously optimistic. I think few studios deserve as much skepticism as Ubisoft, but they are hit or miss, and sometimes they do hit, and this looks like it could be pretty good. Luke Stevens did a good breakdown of the trailer and the new features that have been announced, and he was able to see exclusive gameplay footage. I probably won't end up playing the game until like a year after it releases, because that's just how I roll. I don't like playing full price for games, and I don't like dealing with the bugs that are always present day one. So I'll let everybody else be guinea pigs for it. That being said, the poster child for fetal alcohol syndrome made a short video on the trailer, so let's check it out.
How many years have people been asking for an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan? It's got to be at least 10. And so finally, when the franchise is at its weakest, and Ubisoft in general is probably going to go bankrupt in the next 5 years and likely be bought up by Microsoft, they finally pull out their ace in the hole, an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan, just like we all wanted. And of course, it stars a black man in feudal Japan. Now, this is where all the people who are trying to change the definition of woke come out and say, Yasuke was a real samurai from feudal Japan, and you're just a racist for not wanting to play as him. Well, first of all, Yasuke wasn't a samurai. He was a servant, effectively a pet of Oda Nobunaga. But whatever, it's not like Assassin's Creed was ever that historically accurate. That's not the point. It was never the point. The point is, it's a game set in Japan, and instead of playing as a Japanese man saving his country from the evil Japanese Templars, but no, we play as the one notable black man from historical Japan, and you know exactly why.
Alright, so I could care less about the conversation around the historical accuracy of Yasuke as a character. He has been used in lots of different kinds of media. And you know what? If you're a Japanese person, if you're an Asian person, and you would have preferred a Japanese character over Yasuke, then I get it. I think that's fine. What I am interested in, though, is compelling stories. And what I think makes for an incredibly compelling story is the lone black samurai in feudal Japan. There are so many ways in which that could be made into a very interesting story. Now, why did they do this? At the end of the day, I don't really care as long as the game and the story is good. But if we're going to analyze like why they would have made one of the main characters black, there is a 100% possibility that the people at the top could have said, we want this game to be more diverse. Let's make a main character that's black. And it could have been a totally pandering decision from the people at the top. But as I think what often happens is that command gets sent down to the writers and the developers of the game. And there are so many people that work on this game. It's a very diverse group of people. And they take that and they can make a very good and compelling story from that. That's not pandering, even though like the intentions from the top were not very sincere. It could also be that somebody towards the bottom wrote out this script, wrote out this outline and presented it to the top people. And they're like, yeah, this looks great. We don't know why they chose to make one of the main characters Yasuke. But what we'll see as this video goes on is that Synthetic Man thinks he knows why it's happening. And he believes it's because the Jews are trying to replace white people. And it will become very obvious he is just too much of a pussy to come out and say it outright. Thus the, and we all know why that is.
Oh, and of course I can't forget to mention there's also a playable female protagonist who thankfully is Japanese, but unfortunately has a wide face and a man jaw. Of course, we couldn't have a woman with feminine features because that would be transphobic. You think I'm joking? I'm not. Now look, I'm not going to act like I'm super shocked, because now several Assassin's Creed games have had female protagonists. But I really think it's the icing on the cake in this whole shit show. But no, that's not woke.
Bro, I don't know how you don't see this character's face as feminine. Like, this is the actor that plays Naoe. She is just a very normal, very beautiful Japanese woman. And Synthetic Man is just like, look at the way they made this woman to pander to the transgender people. Like, just because she doesn't have makeup on in the game and doesn't look like the Rule 34 porn that he's obsessed with, doesn't mean that it's some woke conspiracy to androgynize women.
But no, that's not woke apparently. Woke only means contrived forced diversity. You do realize that is a completely subjective and useless definition, right? Since I was asked a bunch of times by tourists to this channel to define a woke, it's very simple. It's whatever ESG or Bridge is pushing, aka progressive leftist politics. That's what woke is. Woke is not some arbitrary idea of what you're not okay with. There's this little thing called the Overton window. You have slowly been conditioned to accept more and more. I'm not going to use the term again that every centrist grifter fucking got triggered by. I'll just say miscegenation. Feel free to Google that. Apparently that doesn't count as woke, even if that's very obviously part of their agenda. There's a reason why it's in every goddamn commercial on TV. It's in every TV show. It's in every fucking movie. But no, that's not woke, according to fucking retards.
Kids, the guy is black and he's white, so he's talking about like, oh, it's race mixing and promoting race mixing.
But that's not even being woke.
So yes, if any of you were expecting a response video to the numerous replies to my Fallout reviews, or Moist Critical's little tidbit in his podcast, no, it would be completely pointless, and as entertaining as that video would be, it certainly would get this channel in trouble, to say the least.
Bro, you good? Bro is absolutely spiraling. Yeah, so apparently Moist Critical kind of called him out on a podcast, and he reacted to the news of it live, and he acted like so annoyed, like, oh my god, Moist Critical called me out? Really? Moist Critical? As if he wasn't about to get the most exposure he's ever gotten in his life. All that ad revenue. You know he loves it. And then he proceeded to spend the next 30 minutes just like absolutely attacking Moist Critical. His appearance, the fact that his girlfriend broke up with him, even though this man has never touched a woman and lives in his mother's basement, literally. So woke, what does it mean? I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me because, like he said, it's subjective, means something different to everyone. If I were to use it, I would say it is like contrived or forced diversity. I think that the new Saints Row game is a pretty good example of that.
I've told you before, the idols are trying to build a post-capitalist society where money is not a concept.
Yeah? Then why don't you go run off and join the commune?
I'm into showering. Are you gonna help me get the waffle maker or not?
Hey, the wage slave is back.
So, is this how it's gonna be every time we have to pay rent?
It's just like nobody talks that way. Well, except for this guy.
Horror is an intrinsically left, punk, anti-establishment, countercultural art form that is primarily concerned with social issues and pushing boundaries beyond what is deemed acceptable by traditional, more conservative, polite society. There's no other way that you can rationally look at it and still exist within reality.
And I'm not trying to be his friend anytime soon, you know? All right, so to recap, the analysis that we've gotten so far, black man in-game bad, not historically accurate, pushing agenda, woman in-game, that doesn't look like anime porn, bad, pushing transgender agenda, and weird rant on just how much he fucking hates interracial relationships. Let's continue.
And look, I know I'm rambling about something completely unrelated to this Assassin's Creed trailer, but I do want to point out before we move on that there seems to be this narrative that I was the only guy who didn't like the Fallout show when It's a Gundam's video on it has 250,000 views. So I wonder if Critical will have something to say about that. Somehow I doubt it. Why was my channel specifically targeted? Probably because I'm the only remotely popular chud gamer on the internet at this point. And unfortunately, my review of the other 7 episodes got hit with an age restriction from mass reporting. Yes, there was a couple seconds of exposed titty in the video, but I don't think that's why I got age restricted. Call me a schizo, but even after
Oh yeah, he forgot that he had nude mods on in his New Vegas gameplay footage he had going in the background. And so, yeah, that is probably what got him age restricted. But the rest of it was absolutely bonkers schizo as well. Why are we going off on this tangent? Bro is crashing out and going schizo, that's why.
Answering it in YouTube's editor, my appeal got rejected. So, obviously something fishy was going on there. Regardless, my point of this little side tangent is just that even though the trailer appears to have a massive amount of dislikes, it's almost 50-50 according to the dislike extension, which I do want to point out that the dislike extension is not entirely accurate. It actually usually underreports dislikes, so it's probably even more than this. But I do want to say it's very clear to me, at least with the debate going on around a lot of adaptations or race swapping or interracial couples or replacement characters like Miles Morales, that people don't seem to understand where the line is with woke. Again, for normies who don't really give a flying fuck about the culture war and don't even understand that they're slowly being conditioned to accept worse and worse things I actually can't even say in a video or this channel will probably get deleted. Again, I think you guys already know what I'm talking about, and by the time they realize, it will definitely be too late. I really think people have just become too stupid. I mean, honestly, if you just take away the woke element of the Fallout show, that show is just straight up retarded. The plot doesn't make any sense. There's a reason why even Mauler didn't like the show, okay? And yet normies ate that shit up, which is why you have people like Critical defending it, because all they do is parrot the most popular opinion. And so the Fallout show is not woke, but this Assassin's Creed game is woke. I'm really starting to think that normies unironically think woke means thing with left-wing propaganda that I don't like. If they do like the thing, they will ignore all left-wing propaganda in it.
All right, genuinely, I don't know what he's yapping about here. Like, I don't know who was saying that they love the Fallout game, but is saying that Assassin's Creed is woke. I'm pretty sure the Overton window on people who think that both are woke is the same. Like, I don't I don't know what he's talking about here. But the worst and worst stuff that he is alluding to here would be the Great Replacement theory. That being that Jews control the highest level of media and the governments and everything, and they're the ones that are pushing all of this stuff on us so that white people become a minority in their own country, and just very anti-Semitic, very schizo, much beyond your run-of-the-mill anti-SJW shit.
Now, if you're wondering why this video isn't really talking about gameplay or thoughts on like the concept of the game, that's because it's just a CG trailer. There's not much to actually talk about. So might as well just talk politics. It's unfortunate that my gaming channel, and it has always primarily been a gaming channel, not a politics channel, I unfortunately have to talk about politics in almost every single modern game review. And I'm not even actually allowed to talk about why they're funding these things in games, why they're pushing it, and I already know my fans know exactly why. So what's the point of saying it for tourists?
You hear it? Sure, you can talk about it, buddy. Don't be a fucking pussy. Talk about it. You can definitely talk about it and couch it in a way that's not going to get you banned. You can do it. You can do it. Also, nobody's making you talk about politics on your channel. No one's doing it. You're doing it because it's the only reason that people come to your channel. His media analysis is utter dog shit. And I would just challenge him for 6 months, a year maybe, make content, just purely doing an analysis. No politics. See what happens. You do that because it's what your audience comes to you for, and if you stopped, they would leave.
Now, somebody like me, I'm always going to read into the more subtle propaganda, no matter how much people think I'm reading into shit. I actually understand these things. They do not, which is clear from all of the backlash against my Fallout videos. So trust me, I'm not gonna suddenly become an optimist if this woke funding suddenly pulls out of the game industry, because we have to remember that a lot of the developers working for these modern AAA companies are also far leftists. Because of their mental illness, they genuinely think they're doing a good thing by spreading their ideology in art. So I think it's going to be a long battle in the years to come, but I think we are making a small amount of headway. So just no matter what, don't buy this slop. That's about it. See you next time, guys.
All right, there you have it. So basically his insinuation is that there's Jewish people at the very top who are controlling like BlackRock and Vanguard and these investment management companies. And here's the truth. Products are being distributed globally, and our world is becoming more and more diverse, and thus we tend to like our media to reflect that diversity. If you keep telling the same stories with the same archetypes and stereotypes over and over and over again that we have gotten since the beginning of the film and gaming and literary universe, it's going to get boring as fuck, and you're going to start losing money. So at the end of the day, it's all about capitalizing. It's all about making money. And sometimes you have high up people who want a certain product. They tell that to the development studio, and the people within the studio aren't really talented enough to make a good story out of that. Sometimes the commands come from the top, from a place of just wanting to make money. It comes down, and the writers, the studio, they are able to make a really compelling story that doesn't really like moralize wokeness or ham-fist stuff into the story, but just tells a great story with great underlying themes. And sometimes, rarely, that whole chain is very altruistic and really wants to share diverse stories and share good stories. And part of that is just like hiring people that are naturally going to tell a story through their own eyes, through their own lens, in a way that a white man wouldn't necessarily tell that story or want that story to be told. But in a way, too, that pretty much anyone can appreciate. So short of blatant racism, there's a lot of race realism in SynthMans content. There is a high level of conspiratorial thinking. There is a lot of misogyny, and pretty much if a piece of media doesn't have each person depicted exactly how Synthetic Man thinks they should be depicted, as far as being like a stereotypical rigid gender or race role, he is going to think that it is some sort of subversive propaganda. And while I think that he does play this up some for his videos, it's honestly the only thing that gets him any sort of attention whatsoever. It's pretty clear that he really does hold these beliefs. Like, this goes way beyond just like run-of-the-mill anti-SJW grifter content. So yeah, I mean, just here to make fun of this shit. There's really no use in soying out over it or trying to change his mind on anything or anyone that believes these same things. But I think there is usefulness in exposing it to the light, mocking it a little bit. I'm sure he will offer us a lot more laughs in the future. That being said, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Please subscribe, hit the like button. It helps out. I'll see you later.
Straight from the Middle East, lit like a rocket. Give me a bit, I'm a rocket. Feeling like Rocky, fit in my pockets. Bipolar man, humble and cocky. They try to copy.